Mike Gundy did, in fact, prove last year that he has a lot left in the tank. Does that mean, as we look forward to this 2024 season, that he understands the expectations as well as everybody in Oklahoma State
You are
country?
Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at AllDayOState. Today, we're partially brought to you by Nissan. Find the right drive, passion, and experience for you today, whether it be in a Rogue, a Pathfinder, or a big body beast of an Armada. Make sure that shop with Nissan at shopnissanusa.com. Again, that is shopnissanusa.com. Today, we're going to do, obviously, the live thing because I got home super late, didn't have time to do the regular recording, but I did. We did record a show that will go out tomorrow morning with Garrett Rengel. We got to talk about a multitude of things. It's amazing what he's been able to do this last two off seasons. And now having some abilities to work with NFL legends, it's going to be huge for him. And it should be obviously huge for Oklahoma State. But for the here and the now, we're going to talk a little bit about the understanding of expectations. Last season, right, it was a tumultuous beginning. But Mike Gundy proved that he could re-engage. He could get back involved with the locker room to a deeper level than he ever has before. He could be involved with the special teams, not only involved, but doing the X's and O's side of the game. So the improvements you see on special teams are a direct reflection of the work that Mike Gundy was able to put in. But this year has to be different, right? This is two of the last three seasons. We've ended up in the Big 12 title game with, I don't want to say nothing to show for it, but realistically speaking, no trophies, no rings, no celebrations, no banners. So this season, when you have 20 returning starters, right, and then if you take into consideration Lyric Rawls, you're hitting that 21 range, it is fair to question whether Mike Gundy and everybody at Oklahoma State is ready to take this next step, because Mike Gundy has never had 20 returning starters. Oklahoma State University may have never had 20 returning starters until now. And it may never happen again. Mike Gundy might coach for another 5 years, 7 years, 19 years, and never have 20 returning starters again. And this is 20 returning starters from a very successful 10th season. And it was very successful because, again, the way that it started after the previous season, basically what we dropped 7 of our final 8, that was massive. And the percentage of times that you can flip that around are very rare. So the question coming into this season would be, how do we set ourselves apart in the Big 12? We're going to be able to answer that question pretty early because the schedule, it's not murderer's row per se, but it's not easy. And thankfully, the non-conference does enough to get us prepared for the opening game against Utah. Most people around the country have already somehow designated Utah as the Big 12 champion. So them coming to Stillwater for their first road game in the Big 12 is going to be massive for everybody involved. The test for the first 3 games is going to be good for us. But again, my question is, will Mike Gundy revert to some level of being too conservative, right? Will he approach this season with the idea that I'm going to, as opposed to going for the gusto, the gold, the Big 12 title? I think Gundy's dang sure good enough to get there again. I think he's absolutely good enough to win it. But I think it's fair. I think it's fair that you have the question of, is he going to push? That means every single player on the field is the best player on the field, not simply because they're a senior, not simply programmed for X amount of years. Mike Gundy has said so many times that it takes a certain amount of time before you can get your players to the level that they expect to have a massive amount of success. Last year, like everyone we talked to, all the players that come on the show, all the players we're having conversations with, one thing seems to be reverberating around the locker room naturally, and that is the expectations are a product of the leadership. And the leadership right now seems to be so good that there's no micromanagement happening. There's no need for any micromanagement happening. So if you have 20 returning starters, you have the best running back in college football, hands down, no questions asked. You have 7 Power 5 returning offensive linemen. You have virtually most of your defensive line return, linebacker, safety, corner, you name it. Up and down the roster, it's a bunch of guys returning. So whenever you look at what Mike Gundy has done historically, it has been win, 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 and then get to the big games, and then that seems to be a little bit of a difficulty. There's going to be several big games this year. We know Kansas State is going to be pretty stacked up and ready to rock. The world has already picked Utah as the darling of the Big 12 coming season. Arizona, if we end up meeting them, not going to be easy. Kansas, definitely not going to be easy. West Virginia's coming off a 9-win season with a decent amount returning as well. The Big 12's going to be as difficult as last year without Texas and OU, simply because of the parity and the talent that we are bringing in. I think that Mike Gundy has this thing not in the bag, but the capability. He has the capability in the bag to push to get where we need to get. I wonder if he's going to do that, though. Right? I wonder if he's going to make sure that every single player on the field is the best guy. No politics, no favoritism, no BS. If the statistical evidence says this dude should play, then he should play. And it doesn't matter what position that is. Or we've mentioned Lyric Rawls multiple times as being kind of that de facto 21st starter. But if Lyric Rawls, finds himself in a role where he's not even a starter, that obviously is going to mean the development behind him is great. The development of somebody like a Cam Epps has been even better than expected, which is not a bad thing. But if there's a propensity, and we know that there is, if there's a propensity to start the older guy simply because he's older, to me, that would be an issue this season. If you get to a point where you're taking your foot off the gas in the second half, instead of putting a team out of their misery when you can, to me, that would be a disappointing missed opportunity. That's my fear. My expectation should be the same as everybody else's. And if anybody thinks that Oklahoma State should not be in Arlington for this coming season, it's crazy. Again, ask your buddies, ask your friends, your aunts, your uncles, whomever you want. Have you ever heard of any team, anytime, anywhere, returning 20 to 21 returning starters off of a successful season? It'd be one thing if you're returning 20 starters off of a 2-win team, but this is a 10-win team. And it's a 10-win team that found a way to get scrappy, get dirty, ugly, nasty down in the trenches, and make some things happen. But we also tripped and fell on our faces occasionally as well. Part of that, in my opinion, is the reservation that Gundy does sometimes have to just push and push and push. Now, there's obviously times where you can do it to a degree that doesn't make any sense, i.e. Dan Campbell, love you, love your mantra, love your mentality. I love the fact that you like guys that chew kneecaps off, but sometimes field goals are okay. But field goal after field goal after field goal and a few punts, to me, not okay. And that would be a derailment of the potential success of the season. If you have Colin Oliver, NFL guy, Kendall Daniels, NFL guy. Nick Martin, potential NFL guy. Ollie Gordon, NFL guy. Dejon Stribling, NFL guy. You have to produce. This is the year, right? Next year, we're not going to have 13 6-year seniors. So next year, should we be good due to the depth of development of Rob Glass? Yeah, we should. But should we really expect to be in the tournament next season? Probably not. So that expectation has to be this year. Everything that is written on the walls, success should be of this season, is past Arlington. Of course, the players are going to take it one game at a time. KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Don't step on your own toes. But we as fans, we should have fun in the acknowledgement that this is the year. This has to be the year. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit of the Big 12 stuff, but Sooner Legends, what's up? Yeah. Hey, guys. No problems. You know, I love to give OU country as much crap as physically possible, but at the same time, I respect the ones that are always really, really cool about engagement, involvement. So I appreciate you. You're a friend of Cody. Oh, Robert, come on, man. Don't be that guy. Who do y'all open up Big 12? Utah, right? So we have South Dakota State to start off the season. And yes, it's the team. People have heard me ramble on. 29 wins in a row, back-to-back FCS titles. They're getting to the level of what Chris Kleiman got North Dakota State to before he took the job at Kansas State. Reminiscent. So should Oklahoma State win that game all day, every day? Yes. But is it going to be fun and easy? Absolutely not. Game 2, we have all coming to town. Arkansas is down 100%. But their offensive line, their defensive line, their linebackers, they're going to be the same size and speed as everything we're going to have at Oklahoma State. So even though they're down, even though they may not have the depth that they're typically accustomed to, there's going to be portions of the game where they're able to throw their weight around, and it's going to make it difficult. So again, should we beat Arkansas? Are we more talented? Yes. Is it going to be easy? No, because size matters, and they've got as many big dudes all over the field as we do, if not more. So that's not easy. And then Tulsa, okay. Tulsa's kind of reminiscent of South Alabama last year to some degree on a lesser level. But they have a significant number of Division I transfers. Obviously, they've snagged a few of our guys from Oklahoma State, way more than a few, okay? And they've grabbed some dudes that have some legitimate playing and experience at Oklahoma State. They've got some guys from OU. They've got some guys from the SEC sprinkled in there. They're going to have the capability to make things interesting. Interesting doesn't mean a loss. Absolutely not. But then you roll in with Utah coming to Stillwater. Utah coming to Stillwater is a good thing. And I'll be 100% honest with everybody. That game does concern me because we all know, especially, as you get to the latter half of the season, that's when your depth and your quality of depth, your strength and conditioning really is going to show. So if it was Utah at the end of the season, I would legitimately 100% all day, every day favor Oklahoma State. But early in the season, they should be healthy, yeah? And if they are completely healthy when they come to Stillwater, it's going to be a difficult proposition. But we're also probably going to be pretty wild for that one, I would say, as a fan base, because it's new, right? It's the first new Big 12 game. Yeah, but what kind of Cam Rising returns, right? Because I've had a Wild Utah guy on the show, and I think he slipped up, right? Slip of the tongue, but he made a comment in regards to we're going to likely go as far as Cam Rising takes us, i.e., if Cam Rising stays healthy through the entirety of the season, 12 wins, 11 wins, 13-ish wins, that is a possibility and an expectation for them. But if he goes down, they could be a 7-win ball club. And this is not me saying it, right? This is Utah people, Utah media people. So to me, that was concerning because for us, if Alan Bowman goes down, we are fine. You guys will hear some of the crazy. Garrett Rangel's been doing some stuff, y'all. Okay. And you'll hear tomorrow with that episode. But that's the thing. If Alan Bowman goes down, okay, cool. We got Garrett Rangel. And Garrett Rangel now, I almost gave a spoiler. Fine, I will give a spoiler. Garrett Rangel is about to be pushing 210 pounds. The kid that left Frisco, Texas, as an ESPN and 247 4-star, top 300, came to Oklahoma State at 6'2", maybe 6'2", 182 pounds. Really 2 off seasons, he's been able to get up toward. He's at 208. I just give up a little bit of the gander for tomorrow. He went from 180 pounds to 208 pounds. Now, you can't tell me that very many people are putting in the kind of work that Garrett Rangel is putting in. So again, do we have faith in Alan Bowman? Yes, but if Alan Bowman goes down, we're okay. If Garrett Rangel goes down, we're still okay. Because Zane Flores is he's a specimen of an athlete. He's a freak of an athlete, basically. He can do a lot of things. And what's super cool about Zane is him and Hudson are going to team up and do some more of the trick shot, dude perfect style stuff. So make sure you look at Hudson Clark's Instagram for that. Because whenever they get back from break, they're going to keep that going. Exactly. Yeah, if he stays healthy, they're good. He's very injury prone. Who else is very injury prone? Alan Bowman. So again, us returning our entire stable of quarterbacks is phenomenal. Oh, and a fun little additive. Gunnar Gundy has been in Stillwater a lot. Like a lot. Like at Chipotle and stuff. Walking around town. So there hasn't been anything released officially or publicly. Technically, I think he's even still enrolled at Ohio. But he seems to be spending an exorbitant amount of time in Stillwater just hanging out for somebody being an Ohio student. We'll see how that goes. Should be interesting. But that could be a situation where we have 4 quarterbacks returning. Oklahoma State's in a good spot. Like, find me a position on the field where you're like, oh, man, the backups are rugged. There's not one. So once again, before we jump to an ad and get into a potential Big 12 national title game for basketball, expectations should be massive. We should be able to rise to the occasion. And if that should happen, Oklahoma State should be not only in Arlington, in the playoff. This is the year. This is the time. This is better than 2021, better than 2017, better than 2013. Nothing has compared to 2011. This has to be that time. Like, again, coaches another decade. Bet you my right leg, all right, that we're never going to have 2021 returning starters again. I know I keep harping on that, but that's insanely rare. Everybody who loves football, watches football, plays football. If you get 14, 15, 16 returning starters, you are stoked. You are pumped, and your expectations are what? Win something other than just games. The hardware matters. The medals matter. The rings matter. The trophies matter. Getting to the CFP playoff with this roster, it has to matter. Because if it doesn't happen this year, with y'all, it might be a hot minute before we're legitimately with the ability to get there again. Call a spade a spade. You guys should be on top of the heap. Yeah, we should be. We should be the top of the heap, right? Now that OU's gone and Texas is gone, Who's won the most games by a pretty significant amount? Oklahoma State. So, yeah, it should be us. Yeah, Utah's going to make stuff interesting. Arizona's going to have times where they pop up and they're going to be a massive problem, as is Colorado, as is Kansas State. Baylor, I don't know that they're going to get their crap together. We'll see. I do really, really, really like their transfer quarterback, DeQuan Finn from Toledo. That dude certified the truth. He is really, really good. But they didn't do anything in the transfer portal, really. And kind of like BYU. Like BYU did the same thing. It's like they looked at the roster that won 5-6 games and were like, you know what? We don't need transfers. This 5-win roster is going to get it did. So Baylor doesn't give me any confidence that they're confident in themselves whatsoever. Neither is really BYU. But yeah, by and large, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Utah, those should traditionally, TCU, be the teams that are always at the top, right? As much crap as we throw at OU, OU was always at the top, right? There was typically never a time where OU was not in the top 3 of the Big 12, whether it's the beginning of the season, midway through, end of the season. Oklahoma State should be fairly reminiscent of that. And I'll be fair, call a spade again. We're not quite near the Big Ten and SEC level. But you even know the latter half of the Big 12's talent is significantly better than the latter half of the teams in both the SEC and the Big Ten. The top half, yeah, okay, cool. They're bigger, better, badder, stronger, faster. But if you go 3 teams, 4 teams down in the Big Ten, they would get destroyed in the Big 12. If you go 6, 7 teams and below down in the SEC, same thing. They would struggle mightily in the Big 12. You know about the parity because you guys have had to experience it the last couple of years. Brent Venables, I think, is a pretty good coach. Brent Venables is following a pretty cool path. But there's still a lot to find out as they transition into the SEC. All righty, guys. Real quick, I got to let you fine folks out here know that the weather is changing. And when the weather's changing, that means you need to make sure that you're taking care of everywhere. It's Manscaped, ladies and gentlemen. If you need to get the breeze flowing, if you need to feel a little bit better about your kibbles and bits downstairs, take care of them with Manscaped. Help you, right? This season, you should groom the carpets and the drapes with the leaders in the below-the-waist grooming. Clear out the winter bush with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0. Watch your confidence bloom like a springtime orange, fluffy, fancy, awesome flower. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide that trust Manscaped. With our special offer, you go to manscaped.com, use the code LOCKEDON, one word, for 20% off plus free shipping. After using Manscaped, your life will be better because your life will be changed. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. There's nothing like a little spring cleaning in your El Pantalones. And the famous words of Lee Corso. Not so fast, my friends. We also got to talk about game time tickets. You know, I know, we know. The best way for you to stay engaged with your ticket buying process is through Game Time. There's a large portion of your difficulties with tickets because of the drive or the hotel or the airplane or whatever. Take the difficulty out of it today with Game Time. Game Time Tickets has last-minute killer deals, everything you're going to need, easy to find, easy to buy. Clicks, bada boom, bada bing, bada bang, you are done. See the view from the seat before you buy, so there's no ridiculousness of you buying a section and getting pushed in another. They have deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour after. Take the guesswork out of you buying tickets. Download Game Time app today. Create an account. Use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will apply, of course. But again, create that account. Redeem that code Locked On, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I apologize. There seems to be a little fluffy stuff going on with the picture here. My bad. Well, we'll keep powering through here, any bahoo, and I appreciate you guys powering through here with me. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but my bracket is it's a big old turd burger. All right, is what it is. And it started with BYU. Love you, BYU. But I also wanted to say, screw you, Joe BYU. That sucked. That was terrible. Kansas, they found a way to pull it out, right? But at this point in time, regardless of what your bracket is, I would imagine a large portion of people go heavy on the Big 12, as did I. So I can still salvage a little bit of respect and dignity. If Houston can just help a brother out, go ahead and win the whole daggone thing. But what can help with the other side of the pain of my bracket being a disaster is if on the other side, Iowa State can make a run. Now, it's definitely possible, right? When you look at the path potentially for Iowa State, it seems pretty manageable. I had them eventually by you. Obviously, that ain't going to work out. But then I had them meeting up with Auburn. And whether it's Auburn, Connecticut, FAU, Connecticut is difficult, right? We get that. That's why they're a 1 seed. But if Iowa State plays like they played in the Big 12 title game, that's a problem. Oh, and also, we're returning 21 starters, yeah. Iowa State won, I think it was 21-0 at home. Is the NCAA tournament at home, Cody? No, it's not. All right. But this is a big opportunity for the Big 12. And you know, and I know, even though you can't see my face freezing half the time here, I'm about to punch my screen. Yeah, you know and I know that if that happens, Brett Yormark is going to have a feast. Brett Yormark will have an absolute field day with whomever from the Big 12 on one side matches up with the other on the other side. To me, Houston, Iowa State would even be more awesome for a deeper level, and that's because of the Big 12 championship game. Not only was it the Big 12 championship game, which helps Brett Yormark with marketing, right? We're just running it back. We're running back the Big 12 title game because the Big 12 is the best conference in the country. Like, this would destroy, not that there's any doubt that the Big 12 is the top dog in basketball, right? I think most people are very well aware in the last 4 or 5 years. No, yeah, about 5 years. Big 12's been the dominant force in college basketball. If Brett Yormark gets that opportunity to plant that flag, Baker Mayfield style, he's going to do it because he's a basketball guy, right? If Brett Yormark had a perfect world, pick up the Big 12 and place it right next to Madison Square Garden. That's who he is. That's how he operates. And that's okay. It's a pretty gangster basketball conference. And now you have Arizona joining the fold. That's going to be wild. Colorado obviously just proved they're pretty daggone good. And we remember in the Big 12, Colorado always had years, they had teams that would pop up and give you a massive problem. It's the same with them in football. I do think, well, okay. I did think the Deion experiment was going to go really, really phenomenal. And I do still have a lot of faith in Deion. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a good recruiter. I think he's proven a lot of people wrong. But his philosophy on recruiting, not only do I not like it, right, because, you know, part of what I do is travel the country covering high school recruiting and 7-on-7 and stuff. And that side of recruiting has diminished so much that we know a lot of kids are going to get left out. a lot of kids now are going to have to go D2. They're going to have to go. It used to be JUCO, right? If you couldn't make the grades or you kept getting kicked out of school or whatever, but you were really good, you went JUCO. Well, now if you're really good but not getting enough attention, you got to go to a small school, FCS school, D2 school, just to prove that you're good enough to play, Power 4, about to be Power 3 football. Now, I don't want to get into the ACC crap because it's not scheduled, but let's just say it's happening. It's a happening, Captain. We've been talking about the likelihood of a Miami potentially joining the Big 12, as well as a Pitt and a Virginia Tech and Louisville for a few months now, because again, just like the Pac-12, if you could just peel back a few layers of onions, you could see the writing on the wall was pretty clear. And it's the same with the ACC. What's happening now is kicking the can as long as physically possible for financial purposes. That's all it is. The ACC is not going to be able to salvage a whole lot after this. Reputation already is a disaster because of that TV contract. And yes, you're hearing some reports that the Big 12 could have got more. We've had that discussion as well. When Brett Yormark did the TV deal, TCU was something like 9-0, right around top 10 in the country. And we had a lot of momentum with other teams in the Big 12 as well. OU, Texas being obviously a hand in that. But we weren't able to capitalize on that. I don't think Brett Yormark was. But as we've discussed, this is 100% what it is. And Brett Yormark's been having meetings with Florida State for the last month and a half. What are the meetings about? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And a part of it's going to be a CYA policy. Cover your own wazoo. That's what it is. So everybody should just get excited and get comfortable with the fact that the Big 12 is going to get bigger, which is great. That is what we need realistically, because we're still somewhat susceptible to potential catastrophe if we do this double division stuff, which honestly, the model of it does make sense. It probably would be beneficial, but I just hate the complete dissolvement of all the conferences, because if the Big 12 goes and they do the two division top 45, 55 teams in the country, if they win it off financially, which that's what the previous president said, and financially Oklahoma State meets that threshold. I think Arizona State met that threshold. I can't remember a few other teams. Texas Tech didn't meet the threshold. Baylor met the threshold. I think TCU met the threshold. But in the new two-division system that's been proposed, that most people think we're going towards, Oklahoma State financially is in it, but it's only with like 5 other Big 12 teams. So realistically, there's only like 5 or 6 Big 12 teams that would make that cut if that's the way things went. And then you basically have 2 conferences that control everything. So the Big 12 could use this, even if we don't get Miami or Florida State, right? Even if it's just Virginia Tech, Louisville, Pitt, Virginia Tech, something to that effect, North Carolina State, that would be massively beneficial for Brett Yormark, because then I think it solidifies the fact that we're maybe not doing 2 divisions. We're doing 3 conferences. I think that's the way it's been going for a long time. I hope I'm right. I hope we don't go to that 2 division thing, because even though we make it, I'm a Big 12 dude. That's why my bracket's busted to crap, because I love the Big 12 so much, and I bet so heavily in the Big 12. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. In football, all the Big 12 needs is to knock that ceiling down. And I'm not taking a shot at OU, but there is a national perception of the Big 12, even before OU and Texas left, that you're good enough to get to Final Four. You're good enough to get to a national titles setting. You're good enough to get to a big time BCS bowl. But OU always had a hard time winning them. They got there, yeah, but they didn't win them. So there was a perception of the Big 12 already when OU was running the conference that the Big 12's good, but their best team's not good enough to win the best games. So that's always going to be what the Big 12 is. And then TCU, they get in on the party. They beat Michigan. They shut some people up, and then they get drugged through the mud in the national title game, which once again proved that the Big 12 is still quite a few steps away from the top few teams in the SEC. But that's all we need. We need one Big 12 team, and I don't give 13 hoots who it is. It could be us. It could be KU. It could be UCF, West Virginia, Houston. I don't care, and neither should you. Any Big 12 team that wins a national title will set us up moving forward in a way that we can't even imagine. Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Yeah. It's just all about staying healthy at the right time at the end of the season, which is not easy to do, but it's possible. Probable? No. Possible? Yes. If/when that day comes, the Big 12 is viewed, I think, in a completely different way. All right. Got to talk about a little bit of the diamond action, right? But of course, also got to let you fine folks out here know today, if you're not rocking and rolling in a Nissan, aka a Nissan, you got to give it a go. Just like the NCAA tournament is trying to get hot and heavy this season, whether you're looking at a Nissan Rogue, a Pathfinder, or a big body beast of Armada, that's where your next journey should begin. And every week in March, we're highlighting a team that is reminiscent of those vehicles. I designated the Auburn Tigers as the Pathfinder, right, that was going to finagle their way all the way to the Final Four. And guess what I got? I got punched in the throat. You don't need to get punched in the throat. You don't need to get anything negative in your throat. I know that didn't make a lot of sense, but that's why you need to go check out Nissan today, because they're the keeping things off of your throat specialist. That's what it is. That's my way to turn around. Go check out the new lineup of the 2024 vehicles, the Rogue, the Pathfinder, and again, the big body beast of Armada. Go to NissanUSA.com. Shop there now to find out where your next big adventure is going to be. All right. Our next big adventure, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball. Actually, I know some people are upset. We lost to the number 18 team in the country, 1-0, TCU. Hats off. Good job, you purple horny toads that are always good at baseball. It was a pitcher's duel. So if you're into pitching, it was pretty awesome. And since I'm a pitching coach, yeah, I loved it, right? I'm fine with pitcher's duel. What I'm not fine with is 15 Ks. 15 Ks, that hurts the heart. It hurts the soul. That's difficult. When you have legendary people helping with, like Robin Ventura, Josh Holiday, obviously previously Matt Holiday, man, I don't know that I can find very many excuses for 15 Ks. Yeah, the dude was dealing. Yeah, he was talented, but you gotta barrel some up, right? When it comes to hitting, you got to find some of it. Even though Peyton Toll was dealing, 15 Ks is too much, right? That's just bad discipline. The eye discipline was crazy. And it actually sucked because Sam Garcia pitched a pretty good game. The lefty, handled his business, struck out 9. I think he went 7 innings. I don't know if it's 7 1/3, whatever, right around the 7-inning range. Very effective ball that otherwise would have been huge for his progression moving forward. And obviously, statistically, it helped. But, it is what it is. And then what is happening with my stupid screen? There we go. All right. And then softball. we're not accustomed to seeing softball lose often at all. Well, now we're 25-5, which is okay. But losing to BYU in the fashion that we did, it was a long ball fest. Guys, seeing a Grand Slam, awesome. Seeing multiple Grand Slams by the same team, that's just ridiculous. As is, yeah, I see, man. My stuff's going crazy. My bad, everybody. I'll wrap it up. All right. The wrap up is Oklahoma State Wrestling had one of its best seasons in a while, especially when it comes to progress moving forward. But we tripped and fell, and we're in 8th place. 8th place nationally. It's not really anything to scoff at, but at Oklahoma State, 8th place is not acceptable. But it's okay because we already know there's a transition of power in place with Coleman Scott. And this season, the part of it that was phenomenal all the way up to the Big 12 title game, that's when the wheels started falling off for some reason. All the way up until then, it looked like this was finally a team that could score enough bonus points to compete for a top 3 spot in the national championships. But clearly, it's okay. We still get to root for Dayton Fix to get his national title that he's gotten so close to 4 years now. And Dustin Plott, still a young cat. He's got an opportunity to win a national title as well. So even though it's disappointing, 8th place is makes you want to break things, just like my internet makes me want to break things. Oh, and I'll give you the kicker here, guys. I have multiple I paid for 2 different internet companies. So I have 2 different internets running, different parts of the house to avoid this issue. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the power of the beard. It's working negatively. I'm not sure, but anywho, I think that's all we're going to have for this one right here, guys. I haven't done a live in quite some time, so I wanted to jump on because I got new fiber optic internet. And I wanted to see it live. And here we are. So I'm not going to break things, but I'm going to stay frustrated. Guys, stay tuned. Make sure that you check out the episode tomorrow with Garrett Rengel. He dropped some knowledge, and he gave us some insight to the glass factory and how things have been going inside the locker room and what the trajectory should be. So make sure you guys check that out. It was a fun one to do for me. You guys know I'm a big believer in Garrett Rengel. I'm a big believer in Zane Flores. I'm a big believer in the fact that Alan Bowman can win us 10 games. I want to win more than 10. And I do personally think that the film says the best quarterback on our roster is the guy that's on the show tomorrow. So we're going to have for this fun little ditty today. I appreciate you. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in the live edition. These are fun. I need to do more. I really, really do. But maybe I need to buy a 3rd round of internet. We'll see how it goes. All righty, y'all. You know the drill. Appreciate you. Share it, like it, subscribe, comment, do what you do. Later, taters.